Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. My name is Hazik, and in today's live stream, we'll be talking about the latest news surrounding CETUS on SUI. We'll talk about the RWA narrative. That seemingly is going to be the biggest narrative in the next 5 years. I think for the next bull market, or in the next bull market, RWA is going to be the number one sector in crypto. So it's going to outperform AI, but that's just my opinion. And the reason for that is because it's still very underdeveloped. So the gains that will be coming in the next 5 years are going to be crazy. We'll take a look at the interest rates and what the next FOMC meeting will potentially, how the effect of that meeting will essentially affect the markets, is what I'm trying to say. And let's take a look at Bitcoin for starters. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. And you should always do your research before investing money into crypto. So taking a look at Bitcoin, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green weeks, which is very impressive. And we're still kind of struggling to break through this glass ceiling here. So we're struggling to break through $108,000. And I think once we're able to see a new all-time high for Ethereum, that is when the massive alt season will come. As of right now, we're still in Bitcoin season. If we go to the altcoin season index, we're sitting at 26, and this is Bitcoin season. So once we pass 75, that is when we're in an alt season. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. For now, Bitcoin is doing amazing. The other altcoins, including Ethereum, are not doing as well. However, I have to say Ethereum has been performing slightly better than it did in the past year or so. If we quickly switch over to Ethereum, I think I'll get this chart here. All right, so this is the weekly Ethereum chart. We had a very nice bounce off of 1500, and look at the weekly RSI starting to move up. And like I said, we need to see a break of the all-time high at around 4,000. That was like 4,000, almost $5,000, $4,900. And thank you all for joining. If you have an altcoin, let me know down below in the comments. We'll take a look at your altcoin. And now let's jump into the news. I know the thumbnail may be a little bit weird about Robert Kiyosaki, and you're wondering what is the reason. So I see Robert Kiyosaki being pushed a lot in the crypto Twitter sphere, and like he's getting really popular amongst the youngsters and even amongst the older generation as well. Like my mom was talking about how Robert Kiyosaki is saying this and then he's saying that. Well, turns out Robert Kiyosaki is unfortunately a scammer, right? He seems like a decent, genuine dude, but turns out he's a scammer, and he lied about a lot of things, including his poor dad, who apparently wasn't very poor. So make sure to watch this video from Jeremy Orozco. I think I pronounced that right. He has a 46-minute video on Robert Kiyosaki, and he takes a deep dive into his contradictions of some of the statements and a lot of the other things that are very interesting. So make sure to watch that. Again, that's why I don't recommend you look at anything that Robert Kiyosaki says, because it's like looking at what Jerome Powell says, right? He's going to say something that you want to hear, or say something that's so generic that it can be interpreted in any way, and then whenever they need to go back on their word, it won't really do anything, right, to their reputation. So that's kind of how I would look at people like Robert Kiyosaki, because what these guys want is they want fame, they want a following, no matter what. And now he's getting a lot of clicks from the crypto bros, and I think he's that's why he's getting a second, or I guess third wave of popularity now. Sincere, good afternoon. Can you take a look at BONK, please? Thanks in advance. We'll take a look at BONK, my friend. So that's just a quick breakdown of what I think on Robert Kiyosaki. Now, this is coming from Alex Becker. He's saying, top signal. I still get the most views per video in crypto because, well, look at me, but we are nowhere near peaks. When my videos start getting 6 to 700,000 views, it's likely near a top. This has a 100% hit rate. We are nowhere close to that. Hold the line, stay cocky. So essentially saying that once there is a lot more demand for crypto, once we start getting closer to the peak, usually videos start performing better. And this is one of the indicators you can use with big YouTubers, is you can go to their channel and you can see the amount of views they're getting per video. If those views are not what the channel usually gets, and it's way past that, that is because we are in an alt season. We're closer to the peak of the cycle, and that could be one of your indicators to take some profits. And I see this being shared a lot in some most random groups, like some immigration groups on Telegram and just essentially normal meme pages. This is being shared. And this just another confirmation that people will never learn, is because they keep celebrating or keep bringing up this date, for 15 years. They keep talking, or I guess for the past, let's say 10 years. And they keep talking about this dude who who sold like 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas, or I guess bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. But they never start looking into Bitcoin themselves. They never research. They never start getting into the space, and they never understand the genius behind the coin. And they just keep bringing up this dude and saying, oh well, if only I bought crypto 10 years ago, if only I bought Bitcoin 10 years ago. But in 10 years there will be people that are going to say the same thing about Bitcoin at 100K that we're seeing Bitcoin today at. And I think that's a margarita and a Texas pizza. And I think that's a very poorly made pizza. Like if he spent 10,000 Bitcoin on a pizza that looks like that, because I worked as a pizza cook, I can definitely tell you that that is a horrible pizza. That is a horrible pizza. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. So Sui had a massive hack, and this was an exploit worth $200 million in crypto being drained. That is why you saw the price of Cetus dropping. It did have a nice move to the upside right here. As you can see from these prices, we went up 230%, and now we're seeing a 50% drop. And this is, of course, because of the hack. Now, I do own Cetus. I am a holder of the coin. Let's go to the project here. So this is their market cap sitting at around $100 million. If you were looking to get into Cetus, this is a good time to dollar cost average. Of course, not a financial advice. However, be careful, because what if the project doesn't recover? Okay, that's always a possibility. However, I do think it will recover. Sui at the moment is, at least before these news, was hyped up a lot. So I hope this won't be the nail in the coffin, but it does seem like they're being transparent about it, at least. So here's an update from Cetus. We open up their community update. We have received many questions and concerns from the community regarding the recent incident, the status of funds, and the roadmap for recovery. To address these in a clear and transparent way, we've prepared the following Q&A covering the most important updates. So I'm sure I actually didn't get the link for there. Elorm, how are you doing, my friend? That pizza is also, that's a horrible pizza. Like if I made that pizza back in the day, my boss would have probably hired me on the spot. That is a very bad pizza. So the affected funds consist of 2 parts, one being within the Sui ecosystem and the other one bridged out of the ecosystem, mainly held in Ethereum. The assets within Sui addresses are currently frozen through the efforts of the validators. We are pursuing 2 possible successful outcomes: a successful on-chain vote by the Sui community to authorize a recovery process for the frozen funds, reaching a white hat agreement, or identifying the hacker for legal actions. Essentially, a white hat agreement is, if I'm not mistaken, is when the hacker agrees to give back the money and he gets to keep a small portion of it. And they use this, and the project uses this experience as sort of a way to improve on their security measures. So I think that's the best kind of definition of what a white hat agreement is. Or identifying the hacker for legal actions. I don't know if many hackers have been identified in these sort of hacks, because in a lot of cases it is North Korea essentially just stealing money through crypto. And then if that's the case, even if they are identified, like no one's going to fly out to North Korea and arrest this person for stealing $200 million. But yeah, North Korea has been stealing a lot of money. Now, this is dipping into the RWA topic a little bit. Plume Network met with the SEC proposing a DeFi sandbox and new rules for tokenized securities. So this is really bullish for all the Plume holders. We did talk about Plume in the previous video, in the previous live stream, I should say. The current market cap is 311 million, and it's a relatively new project that's been around since the beginning of the year. And it's only available on, let's see, Bybit, BitGet, Mexi, Gate.io, KuCoin, Crypto.com, BingX. I said only available, but it's pretty much available everywhere. So we don't have Binance, and that's pretty much it. And we don't have Coinbase. So those are the two next big listings coming, in my opinion. The only issue is the circulating supply for me, 20%. Let's take a look at what. Let's take a look at the tokenomics here real quick. So 377 million. Let's go to the vesting. Let's go to the chart here. Yeah, so it seems that it's a 2.4% unlock every single month on the 21st. So, I mean, in 5 months, you're looking at more than 10% of unlocked tokens, which is pretty significant, I should say. And if you're looking at, let's say, December 2026, the unlocked tokens are sitting at 68.7% as opposed to the current 23%. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe if you're getting into this for a short to midterm period, you can probably buy some Plume, hope for a Binance, Coinbase listings, and then sell it by the end of the year. But yeah, I would be careful. Maybe for the next run, this could be like a bullish coin to hold. But the fact that they're talking to the SEC is definitely going to, I think, affect or at least give a lot of confidence to the Plume holders. Now, this is coming from the Qatar Financial Center, and they're planning to tokenize real estate starting with $500 million plus towers, also exploring tokenized funds and digital asset rules. So the Arab Gulf countries are definitely getting involved with crypto more and more, and tokenizing assets and their towers and real estate is going to be, I think they're going to be the number one, at least at the start of things. And that's where Ondo and Plume and all of these, that's where they can shine. So that's why I'm saying in the next 5 years and in the next bull market, I think RWA is going to be the number one narrative. Now, there is another buy hint from Michael Saylor. I only buy Bitcoin with money I can't afford to lose. So essentially, he's saying that if he doesn't buy Bitcoin with the money that he's planning to buy it with, that money is going to waste. That's essentially what he's saying. Of course, feel free to check out our Patreon, guys. The link is down below in the description. You get 7 days free access. We have more than 1,000 posts in there. So make sure to check that out. And this is coming from Cointelegraph. River reports growing Bitcoin support among US policymakers, 59% of the Senate and 66% of the House. So there is 100 seats in the Senate and 435 seats in the House. And as you can see, the pro-Bitcoin policymakers are growing, and that's a good thing for the US and for global adoption of crypto. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how, obviously, the United States, they don't want full decentralization, of course. So we'll see how much decentralized they will, how much decentralized will things be under the US policies. Nordic countries are reconsidering their cashless push. Vitalik says decentralized tech like Ethereum could be the fix. So Nordic countries are reconsidering their cashless push. So this is essentially saying that, and I'm not sure if, I think a lot of you guys are from the Nordic countries, but from what I understand, that in a lot of those countries, they pretty much don't use cash anymore. I don't use cash anymore at all. And they're reconsidering their cashless push, whether it was a good idea to go cashless. And Vitalik says they can use Ethereum to fix that. So I think he's talking about some sort of a stable coin, right? A government stable coin, decentralized like Ethereum. Well, the person in the comments is just making fun of the fact that Ethereum is not as decentralized as the claim is. Now, from Bitcoin Magazine, they're saying Pakistan allocates 2,000 megawatts of electricity to Bitcoin mining and AI data centers. And this is a growing trend with Pakistan. We see they're getting involved with crypto a lot, especially with CZ becoming one of their advisors. And I think this is probably the aftermath of CZ joining and becoming an advisor. This is what happens. And I'm not sure what is that. And of course, last but not least, we have Trump again trying to push the Fed to cut interest rates. And this is from Awakened Outlaw. This is just a random post that I saw, or random creator. No inflation in prices of gasoline, energy, groceries, and practically everything else are down. The Fed must lower the rate like Europe and China have done. What is wrong with too late Powell? Not fair to America, which is ready to blossom. Just let it all happen. It will be a beautiful thing. So Trump's goal is to eventually devalue the US dollar against other currencies, because that will benefit everyone who's investing into the US bonds. And this way also he's trying to, at least right now with his tariff scare, everyone is going into the bonds, and eventually him getting the rate cuts will push for more inflation, which will again devalue the US dollars, and all of the assets against the dollar will go up in value. And that's what Trump is looking for, because he's going to measure his success by the S&P 500's success and by the price of Bitcoin. So that's and that's the FOMC expectation. This is the June meeting. We're sitting at a 94.4 chance of a no cut. July meeting, 75% chance of a no cut. And September is the only month where it looks like we're going to get a 25 basis points cut. And it's even below 50%. So these numbers change a lot. If we go to the June to the June meeting, let's go back to April 25th. So a cut was sitting at 57%. Okay. This was back in April. Then we dropped down to 8, then 5, and now 5.6. And then a no change was sitting at 36.7% in April, 91% in May, and then rose up to 94.4%. So essentially, this is telling us that there won't be any rate cuts for the next 2 meetings until September, and even then, that is potentially going to change. Now, these numbers fluctuate a lot based on what Trump says, based on what Jerome Powell says, based on some real like macro environment events. let's say there's a bank run and something breaks in the US financial system, the Fed will be forced to cut rates, and that will obviously change all of the expectations. So just because it says September is 47.7 doesn't mean it's going to last, or doesn't mean these numbers won't change. Again, if we go back to the June meeting, and you can see how much the numbers fluctuate, going all the way from 36% to 94.4%. So it is crazy how these things change. So don't stress out about them too much. It is what it is. Whatever happens, happens, and we just have to be ready for both outcomes. Okay, let's jump into the RWA category here, and we'll go through some coins, and then we'll take a look at your requests. We have BONK and Avalanche, and let me know if the audio is working fine. I switched up the microphone into a different position, so hopefully the audio is doing fine. All right, immediately I see Centrifuge doing pretty well. Let me just close up all of these here. Centrifuge up 28% on the 24-hour. So this project I've been talking about for a very long time. We were getting into it throughout the bear market on Patreon. So we were catching these prices below 20 cents, below 15 cents. And then we're listed on OKX. So that's the #1 exchange, I'd probably say, where I would be buying the tokens. Gate has $1.1 million of volume in the past 24 hours, but I would just go on to OKX and get it there. So this is one of the RWA coins that I would be looking at. Plume is the other one that we talked about, but again, we discussed the tokenomics. They're not as good. If we take a look at Centrifuge's tokenomics, here you can see 96.7% of the total supply is out in circulation. So this is a completely different tokenomic situation. You don't have this massive unlock schedule. In fact, you're coming up to the end of this vesting schedule, and it doesn't look like you will have a lot of token dilution because of that. So Centrifuge is definitely a better option in my opinion, but I don't like, these guys aren't talking to the SEC. So we'll have to, you have to manage your expectations if you're buying, let's say, a $300 million market cap project. Let's say these guys do a 10x. That's a $3.1 billion market cap by the end of the cycle. And, that's more than enough. But to some people, they're looking for, for bigger gains. Another mid-cap coin, I would say, is Axelar. You can look into this one. It's sitting at $337 million. And if we go to CryptoRank again, and we open Axelar, you can see they have 78.9% of tokens out in circulation. And you go to their vesting schedule. Yes, there's still some tokens left, but this is not going to be like, this is not a horrible unlock schedule. Okay. You're looking at by May 2026, it's going to go up to 77% from 64%. It's not a lot, nowhere close to what you're looking at with Plume, but not as good as you have it with Centrifuge, of course. Now Mantra, I think this is a done project. This is a belly up project. I would not get involved with Mantra. If it recovers in a miraculous way, so be it. But I would not risk my money putting into Mantra. Polyhedra Network is another project that has, I think, performed very well. It hasn't dropped much. Yeah, so we can see with the most recent crashes, it hasn't dropped much. And this is what I noticed with Mantra before it had its massive collapse. And I don't know if the price was held up artificially. At least with Mantra, it probably was. But this seems to be holding up very well. If we go to the token unlocks here, I think, yeah, they're vesting is about to start getting crazier and crazier. So it's 1.55% of the total supply every single month, so every 18th. But to be honest, they've been holding up very well with their current token unlocks. So I have to give them their props. And then of course you look at the top projects here, Ondo, Hedera, Avalanche. So Avalanche is something that we got requested. So what do you think about Avalanche? So Avalanche is a layer 1 blockchain, and at the moment it's big in gaming and sports. So those niches are the niches that it's focusing in on. And I know they have a lot of games. So I think once gaming picks up, or AI gaming, which is probably going to be the next big gaming trend, we're going to see Avalanche projects go up, and it's possible Avalanche will even get back up to its all-time high prices. Let's go to the AVAX price action chart here, and let's see what's going on. So the AVAX price is not doing as bad as some of the other ones. We're up approximately 155% from the bear market bottom in October 2023. We had this massive move to the upside. This was like a 7x, 640%. But we're still a little bit off from the all-time high. We're still 559% away from the all-time high, which was at $150. So I would say at the moment, with the way things are playing out for AVAX, at best, I would expect a return to the all-time high, and that'll be it. I'm not expecting a breakthrough at the moment, unless things go parabolic and we have a massive alt season where altcoins go crazy. In that case, AVAX can potentially break through the all-time high, and then we can, we can apply the fib right now, see what those potential targets may look like. So $164 here, and then you have 270 and 290 based on the fibs that we set up already. But I wouldn't set up like crazy predictions of $500 and so on, like some people do, because it hasn't performed as well, at least right now. But this is definitely a good time to be dollar cost averaging into Avalanche. Even if you're looking to sell at, like, let's say $70, that's going to be a really good trade, getting in anywhere below $20 and at the 0.382 fib and the 0.236. So between these two fibs, we're going to have a really good entry point. So those are the top RWA projects: Chainlink, Ondo. I think Ondo is the safest and the best option to get into. I think a 5 to 10x with Ondo is going to be easy. Now let's start going to some of those lower cap projects. So Crypto Autos is something we reviewed on Patreon recently. And Alex Becker was talking about this project too. So if Alex Becker is mentioning something, that means it's going to have value at least because it's being mentioned by some of these bigger names. So make sure you go into some Telegram groups. Like I, for example, track some of the bigger YouTubers and their wallets, and I see what they're holding, and I try to share that with my community. And Crypto Autos is something that, actually, I'm not sure if Alex Becker bought it. I think he did buy into it. But this is essentially a decentralized market for selling cars, and luxury cars at that. So this is not just selling normal, ordinary cars, your Honda Civics. This is like selling top tier cars. And I think this has a market. I don't know how bullish it will get, but it is in the RWA space. So we'll see. So Crypto Autos is something to look into. Very low market cap, $7.5 million. A Boson protocol, something that I've been holding for a very long time now, sitting at $20 million. The tokenomics are pretty good, and these guys are going to be involved with metaverses. So they're like the e-commerce decentralized layer for metaverses and those essentially AI metaverse type things. Now, Ori Chain is another one that a lot of people are bullish on, and Relio Network. These are also lower cap projects at 53 and 43 million. Another big one to mention is Pinlink. I try to mention it in every single video because I think this will have a lot of potential. And Alex Becker also is very bullish on this one. He's saying Pinlink will probably be one of the best RWA coins to get into. And I personally have a good bag of Pinlink, and we're going to wait for a few listings. I think once the alt season is here, and once some of these AI and RWA tokens are performing extremely well, we'll see what happened. We'll see the exact same thing that happened with meme coins, and that's a lot of exchanges are going to start listing these coins because they want a share of that volume. Why do they want that? Is because the bigger their trading numbers are, the better it is for their investors, the better it looks in their reports, in their quarterly reports, etc. And then if they want to delist the token after the bull market is over, they can always do that, right? But the main point is they want to get the token onto the exchange so that people can sign up and start trading that token specifically there. So if you have a Pinlink listed on Binance, you can bet your bottom that most people are going to go to Binance to buy that coin, at least if they're outside of the United States of America. So I think once we get a lot of these coins listed, it'll kind of cause a chain reaction. We'll have Destra, we'll have Pinlink, we'll have a lot of other RWA/AI coins listed on these exchanges. So that's what we're waiting for, and that's why I tried to pick coins that haven't had listings on these major exchanges yet. Let's go down the list here, see what I have. So another one you can look into is Polytrade, $8.4 million market cap, extremely low. And from what I'm seeing now, a lot more RWA tokens are like popping up. And I would say be careful getting into very, very small ones, because you don't want to buy a scam, essentially. You want to do your research properly. Like, look at this coin. Like, what is going on here? Volume is essentially non-existent. Climate change, RWA, DeFi. I think I remember doing a review on this one. Okay, so I remember this project. Cook stoves for people in Bangladesh. That's nice. Climate DAO is positioned to seize a $10+ trillion opportunity. Real world assets driving real world impact. So this is actually pretty interesting. Yeah, so make sure to take a look at Climate DAO. That's why I have it starred here, because it's actually pretty interesting. But of course, don't overexpose yourself to a lot of coins. I think currently I do have a lot of coins. I wish my portfolio was a little bit smaller, but that's definitely something that I'll make sure to do for the next cycle. I'll have my portfolio much smaller than it is right now. Why? Is because if you buy, like, let's say 10 low cap AI coins and all of them perform well, it's essentially the same thing as buying one of them and then having it go really well. Instead, just pick the ones that you're very certain of. Let's say pick 2 super low cap ones, anywhere between $5 to $1 million, and then pick, 2 to 3 mid cap ones from 100 to 500, and then maybe get one like big like something like Ondo, right? $3 billion market cap, something like that with Injective and Quant, maybe a few safer coins. But that's something that I learned in this cycle, is that having a lot of exposure to a lot of different coins is not the best scenario, at least for me. So those are a few RWA coins for you to look into. Like I said, the narrative is growing by the day, and once the Arab Gulf countries start adopting and start trading on these um, marketplaces, it's going to get crazy. All right, let's take a look at your requests here. We had BONK. So this is a meme coin. So unfortunately, I have to review this. Is it this one? I think it's this one, right? 1.5 billion. Of course, it's going to be on Binance. See, like this coin serves zero purpose, but it is on Binance. Why do you think that is? Why do you think Binance decided to buy or to list BONK? Why do you think that happens? Well, I'll tell you why. If you go to centralized exchanges, look at the 24-hour trading volume, $28.4 million on Binance, plus 4 million with USDC. So essentially that puts you at like 32 million. And then you go to Coinbase and you have almost $16 million worth of trading volume. So these two exchanges essentially together, Binance and Coinbase, have more volume than all of the other ones added together combined. Okay, HTX actually has 26 million. This is a Korean exchange, and they like trading meme coins like crazy for some reason. But other than that, there's not a lot of impressive things here. Impressive volumes that I can see. Arabit has 5.5. Yeah, like for the most part, Binance and Coinbase. So once AI starts seeing massive volumes, massive trading volumes, that is when Binance and Coinbase are going to start snatching up those coins. Not only do they list them, but they also invest into them, because I think that's one of the criteria to get listed. Or at least some projects ask Binance to buy their coin, but I don't hold me for that. But they definitely get listed because they want those volumes. So once AI and RWA are pumping, like properly pumping, once there is an AI pump, like we had the meme pump at the end of 2024, that's when you're going to see a lot of these coins popping up. And that's just an example of why Binance has BONK, useless meme coin. Let's go to the website. Like, I think AI can make this website in like 10 minutes, right? I think I can use my feet to make this website in 30 minutes. And this thing has like up to $80 million of 24-hour trading. So BONK is the social layer and community meme coin of Solana with deep integrations of the utility token across a wide base of applications and protocols within the Web3 ecosystem. As the true community coin of Web3, BONK's utility comes from its strong community and thriving ecosystem of integrations. So essentially they integrated, which means they're like tradable, and I guess you can stake it in some way on some of these Solana projects. But what's the actual use case here? Like, why is there a need for... And this is what you'll notice these meme coins saying all the time, is that the main utility is the strong community. And by strong community, they mean people that are buying the token in hopes for 100x, that are going to sell it if they get that 100x. And probably most of them won't, because they'll get greedy and they'll hold it until 200x and so on. But that's their main... That's what I see across the board for meme coins. 420,000. Look at these guys there. And look, their marketing is really good. If they're going to, keep pushing these dogs everywhere, of course they're going to be pumping, and Binance will be listing them. Well, look, they're just reposting some weird pictures. That's literally it. That's literally their entire strategy. All right, I'm not going to rant too much. And of course, you're free to buy whatever you want to, but let's get into the chart and let's see what's going on with BONK. Okay. So we have an ascending resistance trend line there. And we have a nice horizontal support over here. So point, however many zeros, 9638 is the support at the moment. And we bounced from that, pretty much made a 2x. Now we're holding the 20 weekly EMA, which is good. And let's set up a Fibonacci from the top there to the bottom here. You're looking at point 0.0000006157 as your minimal target in case you drop below the local bottom here from February 2024. And then your 1.618 target is going to be down here at whatever zero number 3311. So that's what you're looking at. At least you're printing higher highs. That's the positive takeaway from here. So what we want to see next is a move back up to the resistance and potentially a bounce back down to the horizontal support. That's always a possibility. And then let's say we break through the local top here or the all-time high, you're going to be looking at 0.40145079 as your technical target. And potentially the cycle top for BONK, who knows? If we have another meme run, this could potentially do a 10x from here. No one knows because meme coins are very unpredictable. Charting them is there's only so much you can do with charting a meme coin. Like if a bunch of YouTubers come together and start talking about BONK on Twitter in the next hour, it's possible it can do a 3x out of nowhere. So yeah. So that's it for BONK. I think we looked at a few old RWA coins, and you have some homework to look into some of those coins. Obviously, let's mention the AI coins as well. If we go to the AI sector, these coins are pulling back. Bitensor, Near Protocol, Render, definitely look into Render. Injective, super strong project. Look into something like Ether. I think these guys are generating revenue already. So they're already making money. And then you have Origin Trail. Destra. This is Alex Becker's #1 coin. And he's super bullish on Destra. He's super bullish on Palm AI, which is another coin I'm about to show you, but I'm not sure where it is. It should be somewhere here. Hash AI, another good one. This is an AI / mining company. Node AI is something that he mentioned. Neural. Nosana is something that is, I forgot the channel name. It's an older, wiser guy that loves Solana. I forgot the channel name. I think he's from Denmark or something, but he's in Nosana. So that's another project that I'd look into. And 0x0. Again, you don't want to buy all of them. You just want to get a few that you think are going to perform the best out of the bunch. And, you want to run with them. But that's going to be it for this live stream. Thank you all for watching, guys. Let me know what are your thoughts on the FOMC meeting. Let me know what are your thoughts on Robert Kiyosaki. If you were aware of his shenanigans and his, his poor dad. Let me know what are your thoughts on the U.S. economy and the FOMC meetings. Do you think that if we don't get the rates cut during the summer, this will potentially shorten or prolong the bull market? Lots of possibilities here, and very uncertain times, to be honest. So make sure you're not investing too much money that you can't afford to lose, and make sure you're also paying attention to things that matter, right? So these are temporary worldly things like crypto and stocks, and they go up and down. But there are people out there who are not even able to find water, or food to drink or eat. And I think you all know a few places that that fall under that category. So make sure you always share your profits with the people in need. Try to donate. Try to help kids, because there's a lot of kids that are under bombings and that don't have enough food. So this is all fun and dandy, but make sure to pay attention to things that actually matter. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, everyone, and have a good day.